Having the first overall pick in the NFL Draft should be a franchise's dream. You have the choice of every player available. Months of scouting have led up to this moment, and all you have to do is pick the best player in the class. Simple, right? Well, not exactly. Over the last 15 NFL drafts, we've seen first overall picks become MVPs, Super Bowl champions, and future Hall of Famers. But we've also seen hidden gems slip into the second, third, and even fifth rounds before becoming the true stars of their draft class. So today, we're going through every NFL draft since 2010 to answer one question. Did a team with the first overall pick actually select the best player available? Let's start with 2010. Coming out of Oklahoma, Sam Bradford looked like everything an NFL team could want. He had already won the Heisman Trophy, possessed elite accuracy, and many scouts believed he was one of the safest quarterback prospects in years. There was just one problem. A shoulder injury during his final college season raised concerns. But the Rams believed his upside was too good to pass up, making him the first overall pick. To be fair, Bradford wasn't a complete bust. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year, threw for nearly 20,000 career yards, and had moments where he looked like a franchise quarterback. Unfortunately, injuries completely changed the trajectory of his career. Multiple ACL tears and other setbacks kept him from ever reaching the level many expected. Meanwhile, 41 picks later, the Patriots selected Rob Gronkowski. Because of his back injuries in college, several teams passed on Gronk, despite his incredible talent. New England took the gamble, and it became one of the greatest draft steals in NFL history. 4 Super Bowls, 5 first-team All-Pros, over 90 career touchdowns, and an argument as the greatest tight end ever. The Rams got a solid quarterback, the Patriots got a legend. Unlike 2010, there was almost no debate about who should go first overall. Cam Newton had just completed one of the greatest seasons in college football history. He won the Heisman Trophy, led Auburn to a national championship, and combined incredible size with athleticism that the NFL had rarely seen from a quarterback. The Panthers knew exactly who they wanted. Cam immediately proved them right. He broke rookie passing records in his very first game, won Offensive Rookie of the Year, earned NFL MVP in 2015, and led Carolina to a 15-1 record and a Super Bowl appearance. That's an incredible career. But this draft also featured J.J. Watt. Selected 11th overall by Houston, Watt quickly became an unstoppable force. Between 2012 and 2015, he completely dominated offenses, winning Defensive Player of the Year 3 different times. At his peak, many people considered Watt the best defensive player in football. Cam Newton became an MVP. J.J. Watt became one of the greatest defensive linemen the game has ever seen. When Peyton Manning left Indianapolis, the Colts needed someone to replace one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Luckily for them, Andrew Luck was entering the draft. Many analysts called him the best quarterback prospect since John Elway. He had the arm, the intelligence, the leadership, and looked destined to dominate the NFL for the next decade. Early on, the prediction looked accurate. Luck made 4 Pro Bowls, led the Colts to multiple playoff appearances, and pulled off comeback after comeback behind one of the league's weakest offensive lines. But that's also what ultimately ended his career. After years of injuries and constant punishment, Luck shocked the football world by retiring before the 2019 season at just 29 years old. His career was outstanding. It was simply far too short. Meanwhile, the Seahawks quietly drafted Bobby Wagner in the second round. Wagner became the heart and soul of Seattle's defense, winning a Super Bowl while establishing himself as arguably the best linebacker of his generation. Year after year, he remained one of the NFL's most consistent defensive players, earning multiple first-team All-Pro honors and continuing to play at an elite level well into his 30s. If Luck had stayed healthy, this debate might look very different, but career length does matter. The 2013 draft wasn't exactly loaded with superstar quarterbacks. Instead, Kansas City decided to strengthen its offensive line by selecting Central Michigan tackle Eric Fisher first overall. And honestly, Fisher wasn't a bad pick. He became a reliable starter, earned 2 Pro Bowls, and helped protect Patrick Mahomes during the Chiefs' first Super Bowl victory in 50 years. Most teams would gladly take that from a first overall selection. The problem? Kansas City somehow landed an even better player in the exact same draft. With the 63rd overall pick, they selected Travis Kelce. Coming out of Cincinnati, Kelce had talent, but also plenty of concerns, causing him to slide into the 3rd round. That quickly became everyone else's mistake. Kelce developed into one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history, putting together season after season of elite production while becoming Patrick Mahomes' favorite target during Kansas City's dynasty. It's honestly hard to imagine the Chiefs becoming what they are today without him. Eric Fisher was a success. Travis Kelce became a future Hall of Famer. Very few defensive players have entered the NFL draft with as much hype as Jadeveon Clowney. After his unforgettable hit against Michigan and years of dominance at South Carolina, many believed Clowney would become the league's next great defensive player. Houston agreed, making him the first overall pick. Clowney has gone on to have a good NFL career, making multiple Pro Bowls and generating pressure throughout his time with several different teams. But good isn't enough when you're compared to Aaron Donald. Selected 13th overall by the Rams, Donald completely changed what people thought was possible from an interior defensive lineman. Despite often facing double and even triple teams, he dominated the NFL for nearly a decade. 3 Defensive Players of the Year, 8 straight first-team All-Pro selections, a Super Bowl championship, and many believe he's the greatest defensive tackle to ever play the game. This one isn't very close. After winning the Heisman Trophy and national championship at Florida State, Jameis Winston entered the draft as a clear top quarterback. Tampa Bay hoped he'd finally solve their long-term quarterback problem. Winston certainly had talent. He threw for over 5,000 yards in one season and has always been capable of making incredible throws. The issue was consistency. His aggressive style led to countless turnovers, including the famous 30-touchdown, 30-interception season in 2019. While Winston struggled to become the franchise quarterback Tampa expected, another player quietly became one of the league's best receivers. Stephon Diggs wasn't drafted until the 5th round. Concerns about injuries and consistency caused teams to overlook him. Minnesota took the chance. It paid off immediately. Diggs eventually became one of the NFL's premier route runners, later leading the league in receiving yards and catches, while helping transform Buffalo's offense into a pass-heavy nightmare for defenses. You almost never find an all-pro receiver in the 5th round, but Stephon Diggs proved everyone wrong. The Rams traded a bunch of draft picks to move up and draft Jared Goff first overall. At first, the move looked like a disaster. Goff struggled really bad as a rookie before completely turning things around under Sean McVay. He helped lead the Rams to a Super Bowl, later revived his career in Detroit, and has firmly established himself as one of the league's better quarterbacks. That's a successful first overall pick. But Jacksonville selected Jalen Ramsey 5th overall. From almost the moment he entered the league, Ramsey established himself as one of football's elite shutdown corners. Whether it was locking down star receivers or helping the Rams win Super Bowl LVI, Ramsey consistently proves why many consider him the best cornerback of his generation. This one is actually closer than people think because of quarterback value. But if we're simply asking who had the better career, Jalen Ramsey takes the cake. Finally, in 2017, we got a draft where the first overall pick became exactly what everyone hoped. Myles Garrett entered the league as a once-in-a-generation prospect. Since arriving in Cleveland, he's lived up to every bit of the hype, becoming one of the NFL's most dominant defenders, while racking up double-digit sacks year after year and earning Defensive Player of the Year honors. Normally, that would easily make him the best player in his draft class. Unfortunately for Garrett, Patrick Mahomes was drafted 10 spots later. Kansas City traded up to select the Texas Tech quarterback, and the rest is history. Multiple league MVPs, multiple Super Bowl championships, multiple Super Bowl MVPs, countless playoff records, and before turning 30, Mahomes has already built one of the greatest resumes any quarterback has ever assembled. Myles Garrett is a future Hall of Famer. Patrick Mahomes is already entering the conversation as one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. The 2018 NFL Draft featured one of the deepest quarterback classes in recent memory. Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, they were all expected to become franchise quarterbacks. With the first overall pick, Cleveland decided to take the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield. Early on, it looked like the Browns had finally found their guy. Baker broke the rookie record for passing touchdowns, despite not even starting every game. And just 2 years later, he helped lead Cleveland to its first playoff win since 1994. After an injury plagued this season, the Browns moved on. But Baker rebuilt his career in Tampa Bay and has proven he belongs as an NFL starter. But while Baker has had a solid career, Josh Allen has become one of the league's biggest stars. Coming out of Wyoming, Allen had incredible size, elite arm strength, and outstanding athleticism. But many scouts questioned his accuracy. Buffalo ignored those concerns, and after a couple seasons of development, Allen exploded into an MVP caliber quarterback. He's consistently among the league leaders in total touchdowns and has become one of the hardest players in football to defend. Baker has exceeded what many expected after leaving Cleveland, but Josh Allen has become one of the faces of the entire NFL. Just 1 year after drafting Josh Rosen, the Cardinals made one of the boldest decisions in recent NFL history. They hired Cliff Kingsbury, completely reset their offense, and selected Kyler Murray with the first overall pick. Murray entered the league fresh off a Heisman Trophy at Oklahoma and immediately brought excellence to Arizona. His combination of speed, arm talent, and agility to extend plays has made him one of the NFL's most entertaining quarterbacks. While injuries have slowed him at times, he's still earned multiple Pro Bowl selections and remains a dangerous dual threat whenever he's on the field. But arguably the biggest deal of the draft came over 100 picks later. The Raiders selected Max Crosby in the 4th round out of Eastern Michigan. Crosby wasn't considered an elite prospect, but almost immediately proved he belonged. Year after year, he's become one of the NFL's most relentless pass rushers, consistently finishing near the top of the league in sacks, pressures, and quarterback hits. His nonstop motor has turned him into the cornerstone of Las Vegas' defense. Kyler Murray has had a good NFL career. Max Crosby has become one of the league's premier defensive players. This is probably the hardest decision on the entire list. Joe Burrow entered the draft after one of the greatest college football seasons ever. At LSU, he threw for over 5,600 yards, 60 touchdowns, won the Heisman Trophy, and led the Tigers to a national championship against one of the toughest schedules in college football history. Cincinnati knew exactly who they wanted. Despite tearing his ACL as a rookie, Burrow returned even stronger. In just his second season, he led the Bengals to their first Super Bowl appearance in more than 30 years, and has since established himself as one of the NFL's elite quarterbacks. His leadership, accuracy, and ability to stay calm under pressure have made him one of the most respected players in football. But then, there's Justin Jefferson. Selected 22nd overall by Minnesota, Jefferson wasted absolutely no time becoming a superstar. He shattered rookie receiving records, won Offensive Player of the Year, and has consistently put together some of the best receiving seasons we've ever seen from a young player. Every year, he's in the conversation as the NFL's best wide receiver. This one really comes down to what you value more, the franchise quarterback or arguably the best receiver in football. Trevor Lawrence had been called the next great quarterback since high school. After leading Clemson to a national championship as a freshman and putting together one of the greatest college careers in recent memory, he entered the NFL with enormous expectations. Jacksonville made the obvious decision by taking him first overall. Lawrence has certainly shown flashes of greatness. He's helped lead the Jaguars back to the playoffs and has produced several impressive performances, but hasn't consistently developed into the superstar many expected coming out of college. Meanwhile, the Broncos selected Alabama cornerback Patrick Surtain with the 9th overall pick. Surtain was one of the most polished defensive backs to enter the draft in years, and he somehow exceeded those expectations. Whether he's matching up with elite receivers or taking away an entire side of the field, Surtain has quickly established himself as arguably the best cornerback in football. His combination of technique, athleticism, and consistency has already earned him multiple All-Pro honors. The 2022 NFL Draft began with a surprise. Most analysts expected Michigan star Aiden Hutchinson to hear his name called first overall, but Jacksonville instead selected Georgia defensive lineman Travon Walker. Walker was one of the most athletic prospects in the entire draft. While he didn't put up eye-popping numbers in college, teams believed his upside was nearly unlimited. Since entering the league, he's continued to develop into a productive edge rusher and has steadily improved each season. But the Jets may have landed the biggest star in the class. With the 4th overall pick, New York selected Cincinnati quarterback Sauce Gardner. From the moment Sauce stepped onto an NFL field, he looked like one of the league's best defensive backs. As a rookie, He earned first-team All-Pro honors and immediately became the type of corner quarterbacks avoid throwing toward at all costs. His confidence, physicality, and elite coverage skills have already made him one of the NFL's premier defenders. Travon Walker has become a very good player. Sauce Gardner became elite almost immediately. Bryce Young entered the NFL after a phenomenal career at Alabama. Despite concerns about his size, Carolina believed his accuracy, football IQ, and leadership made him the best quarterback in the class. His rookie season was difficult as he played behind one of the league's weakest supporting casts. But after improvements around him, Young began showing why he was selected first overall. He still has every opportunity to become Carolina's franchise quarterback. Meanwhile, one of the biggest surprises of the draft came in the 5th round. The Rams selected Puka Nacua. Almost nobody expected him to make an immediate impact. Instead, he exploded onto the scene, breaking rookie receiving records and becoming Matthew Stafford's favorite target almost overnight. His physical style of play and ability to consistently get open quickly established him as one of the NFL's brightest young receivers. Bryce Young's career is far from over, but if we're judging these players today, Puka Nacua easily wins. Now we're getting to the classes that are still almost impossible to judge. It's just too early. Caleb Williams entered the draft as one of the most talented quarterback prospects in years, while Marvin Harrison Jr. was viewed as the safest wide receiver in nearly a decade. Both players have shown why they were drafted so highly, but it's simply too early to know who will have the better career. Right now, I'd give the slight edge to Marvin Harrison Jr., but this is one that can completely change over the next several seasons. And now we're at the newest draft class. Cam Ward was selected first overall, with the expectation of becoming Tennessee's franchise quarterback after his outstanding college career. Meanwhile, Ted McMillan entered the league as one of the most polished receivers in the draft, with many believing he could become an instant number 1 option. While Cam Ward had a rough season due to the lack of receivers or offensive line, Ted McMillan won Rookie of the Year and has had a great season with Bryce Young. So I'm going to say the best player from this draft has been Ted McMillan so far, but it's too early to really tell. Now that we've looked back at every draft since 2010, one thing becomes pretty clear. Having the first overall pick doesn't guarantee you'll end up with the best player in the draft. In fact, most years, another team found an even bigger superstar later on. Whether it was Rob Gronkowski in the 2nd round, Travis Kelce in the 3rd, Stephon Diggs in the 5th, or Max Crosby in the 4th. Every draft reminds us that talent can be found almost anywhere. And that's what makes the NFL draft so insane. Every April, teams spend months evaluating prospects, trying to predict who would become the next superstar. Sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they pass on a future Hall of Famer. It's all just a dice roll.